Don't sit up here if you don't know Git. No, I'm just kidding. I'll do all the Git commands, all right? You're in the current front row. Megan. Oh, Jim. Jim is the director. The owner is Megan.
There still more people coming, or are you the last one to get out?
Yeah.
I guess more people.
Yeah. Plus, like, I got a couple coworkers here. They're here to heckle me, so.
Why is this sitting up front?
Right? No. All right.
Jake, it look more people are making their way over? Well, I guess yes. All right. We've saved seats for you, Joel, and I forget the other guys. All right. Welcome to TechLancaster. My name is Joshua. I'm one of the organizers. TechLancaster, for those who are new, is a monthly meetup of tech and tech-adjacent people coming together to nerd out. We also want to promote other events of interest to the community here, especially other meetups. Please note this is being streamed and will be posted on YouTube. If you have questions that you would rather not have recorded, feel free to ask them after the closing. Tonight we are having Alex Mayer talking on advanced Git, and we are having Joel Walker, who just disappeared something, talking about finding a balance between local tech business and tech community. Upcoming next month, I know we have one opening, one spot is filled, and I forgot to copy in what that was. Do you know what that is off the top of your head?
Yeah, it's a design.
No, it's visual problem solving for non-visual problems. I believe it was what it was. I don't know. We'll post it when we send the newsletter and have that straightened out.
We did one slot left.
And we do have a slot if anyone would like to do something there. It's a pretty low pressure. We're happy to help in any way with somebody who wants to do that. So that's next month. We have an Amish Tech Slack. That's one of the main ways for communication. Anyone who's a Slack admin, please raise your hands. So talk to one of them if you want to get signed up. There is a monthly newsletter, and you can sign that up on the TechLancaster.com website. It is one email a month, and it is just to mention what's coming up the next month that we know about. Other meetups, there is the Lancaster Elastic meetup on the third Wednesday. I don't see the organizer for that. Does anyone want to say a word about that? Otherwise, we'll consider that good enough.
I can talk about it.
Sure.
Yeah, we usually gather here and we'll watch an Elastic presentation on something. They have great speakers who talk about all sorts of cool Elastic stuff. And then afterwards, we usually just chat about Elastic. Usually people will come with their Elastic problems and we talk about how we might solve them. So yeah, if you're into Elastic or looking into it, it's good meetup.
The Lancaster AI meetup has restarted and somewhat reorganized. Does anyone want to give a word about that?
Rich isn't here, I'll do it. If you like AI, I don't know, has anybody heard about, it's called, what's it called, ChatGPT, yeah. Joking, obviously. If you use ChatGPT for literally everything in your life like I do, there is now a not
say a word or two about pub standards and open coffee.
Yes, there are also 2 social meetups. So if you want to just hang out and drink a beer or a coffee, that would be pub standards and open coffee respectively. Again, that's all on meetup.com, and that's all in email. The AI meetup will not be on meetup.com, at least until we pilot it and see how it goes. We don't want the unwashed masses coming through AI.
All right, and then finally, well, semi-finally, New Tech Meetup Central PA. We don't mention them every month, but we do try to when they're in Lancaster. June 19th, they will be at Cargus. They have their own meetup page that you can look up, and it'll be mentioned in the newsletter. Nathaniel Every, who recently spoke here, will be speaking there about GPT and how to use it for various things. I don't know to what I suspect he will be similar, but not the same as the talk he gave here, because they do tend to be a little bit more how do you use it and less how does the tech work there. And then there's also some other people talking about how their businesses are using AI. Does anyone else have a meetup they'd like to pitch?
Lancaster Linux Users Group meets Thursdays. Right now we're just virtual, but meetup.com/lanklug if you're interested in Linux or Unix operating systems.
All right, then we will get started, and I'll turn it over to Alex. Oh, I forgot to mention, beer was provided at night, at least a bunch of it, by Harbor Compliance. So I just wanted to mention that. And if I'm not mistaken, the pizza is provided eventually by local area networks.
All right, so I'm going to talk about advanced Git. When I ran through this the first time, it was a half an hour. Second time was 50 minutes. So I might talk a little bit fast. We'll probably hold questions till the end. I do have a question slide if anybody has any questions. But if anything is super confusing while I'm giving the talk, let me know. So my talk has a few assumptions. It is called advanced Git, so we are not going to go over simple things. So the assumption is you've at least used Git before, know what Git is. You're familiar with the basics. So branching, staging, committing, as long as you're familiar with those, I think everything today should kind of fall in line. But if you're not familiar with those things, probably going to be a little lost. Just a note about my setup. So I use omyzsh. That comes with a ton of aliases. Muscle memory, I have like 3-letter commands that I'll type out to do certain things. If you see me doing one of those and you want to know what the full command is, let me know. I've tried to break myself with a habit the past couple days, but I still find myself using them. I also use Helix as my editor. It's Vim. It's similar to Vim, but the editor does not matter. The stuff I do in the editor is just modifying files that you can use VS Code or whatever you want with any of these. So the important part is when I'm typing actually the Git commands. Okay, so the first part, partial file staging. So if you are working on a project and you have a bunch of changes in a file, but they don't all really belong in the same commit, partial file staging is an amazing tool. So you can stage just pieces of files, or just, like let's say you have 5 files and you modified and you had kind of 2 changes, but they're all in the same files. So you just pick and choose which pieces of those files you want. You make one commit, and then you can add the rest and make a second commit. What's cool is, so it's called partial file staging, but you can also unstage things, so reset them or check out. So if you make a bad changes and your Control-Z history in your editor ran out, and you still have stuff that you just want to get rid of, like 5 lines in your file, you can do git checkout-p, stands for partial, and then the file name, and it'll walk you through. Do you want to check out this or this or this, and walk you through each one. So I'm just going to go over staging a file, but these do work with resetting and checking out files as well. Oh, sorry. So I'm going to jump back and forth, one slide, then one demo. All right, so we're in the partial stage directory. I'm going to cat out the README.
Can you see that in the back?
Awesome. So partial file staging. So you have a ticket to replace all the pound signs with pound symbols with dollar signs. While editing the page, you notice there are also some indentation mistakes. So we are going to fix those at the same time, and then we're going to stage and commit those as two separate commits. So if I open up my editor to open up the index file, so right away, right at the top, you can kind of see indentation. I'm kind of OCD about my indentation, so I see these here. I'm going to just indent those lines. And then the ticket that we're working on is to replace all the pound signs. So we haven't even gotten there. So we need to find all the pound signs. So if I do, I know that one of the pound signs is near something like 999, so we're just going to search for that. And sorry, it's off the side of the screen. There we go. So we see here's a pound sign, but even before that, like just right here, you know, this is annoying, so let's indent that line. And then I'm just going to copy all the stuff in here, set that to my find, and select everything and split based on that. Okay, so now I have all of the things that are theoretically like dollar amounts selected, so I can replace that with a 4 or a dollar sign. There we go. Write that out. And then, actually, right here, we almost missed this one. So go here, just indent that. Okay, so we've indented, I believe, all the stuff in this file, and we got our other change, so we're going to write and quit. So now, if we do a git diff, you can see we have indentation, indentation, this is the dollar sign, more indentation with a dollar sign, and then down here just dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign. So we have multiple things that we don't want to stage that all as one commit. We want to make 2 commits. So the way that you can do that is git add -p, and then we're going to type out the file, or you can do a directory. I see a lot of people do git add period. I would highly recommend against that. That's how you get your credentials sent up to GitHub. So always specify the files or directories that you want. So if we do git add p, we see we get a prompt at the bottom here. So this blue line is kind of what we're interested in. Does that show up down there? It does not. I don't know if I can move that up. Okay, well, I'll read out what's in the blue line. So in the blue line, it says stage this hunk, question mark. And it has options, yes, no, quit, whatever. But I'm going to type out if I type out a question mark, we can actually see stuff up here. So, actually, I got all the stuff on the screen. So the stuff at the top, actually, it's cut off the side. But all the stuff up there tells you kind of your options. So we have a hunk, and then we have a prompt. What do we want to do with this hunk? So yes, we want to stage this. That's a Y. N, we do not want to stage this. There's some other interesting ones. So Q, quit, so we're just kind of done. S for split the hunk if the hunk is too big and we want to just work on a smaller hunk. Or E if we just, Git doesn't know how to handle it, we just have to manually modify this. Spoilers, it comes to that. Okay, so this is an indentation hunk, so I'm going to hit Y and hit enter. So we staged that hunk. So this next hunk, if I scroll up, you can see, so it starts after this blue line. So we see here's indentation, here's a dollar sign, here's kind of a big blob that is indentation and a dollar sign. So I alluded to the split. So we're going to split this. So you'll notice we'll probably just get this hunk at the top because that's kind of far enough off. So if I hit S, so now you can see between these blue bars at the top and the bottom, the stuff just in the middle, that's an indentation. So we're going to hit yes, we want to add that. The next thing is just a dollar sign. We do not want to add that. That's not an indentation, so we're going to hit no. And then there's this next blob. So this is a big blob, so we're going to try and split that. So I'm going to hit S, but it didn't actually change. So Git doesn't know how to split this any smaller. It doesn't know where you think which hunk is what. So we have to actually manually edit this. So not to be scared, if we hit E and hit enter, we get what appears to be a Git diff. So we just want to make this Git diff look like what we think the Git diff should look like. And they do give some helpful hints at the bottom here. So you can see to remove a dash line, so any line that starts with a minus, just make it a space. To remove a line that starts with a plus, you just delete it. So going back up here, we know that this line here is the dollar sign change. We don't want that, so I'm going to select that and delete it. This line here was already there before, so we're going to replace that with a space, and you can see it changes to white. But now if we look at this, it doesn't really look like a Git diff. It has the minuses at the top and the pluses at the bottom. So we want the line in the middle to kind of be context. So I'm going to delete that and make this look like a proper Git diff and just paste it at the bottom. So now if we looked at this, this is something that we would realize would be like a Git diff. We're subtracting these lines and replacing them with these lines. Everything else is context. So then I'm going to escape, right, and quit. And then now we're on to the next hunk. So it staged that hunk, and now we're on to the next one. So this one's a dollar sign, so I'm going to hit no. This one's a dollar sign, I'm going to hit no. But all the rest of them are dollar signs. So I can either hit Q or D.
I know you said this is not for beginners.
Yeah.
And I'm not even close to a beginner.
Okay.
Just tell me at a high level, what is valuable about this for you, for someone like me?
Sure.
How is this helpful?
So if I'm working on a project, so I'm just doing this on one file, and it's like a very curated example. But if I'm modifying something and I see another function, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to replace, just refactor that real quick or do something, but it's not necessarily related to a change that I'm actually working on in my ticket, but it's in the same file. With Git, if you do git add, it just adds the whole file to the Git, and then all of that gets into the commit. Whereas I can just take a piece of it and say, I just want this one piece, and I'm going to make that a commit. Then all the other changes I make are going to be a second commit, so they can be like tracked differently. Yeah. Granularity, exactly. And when you do indentation stuff all the time, I fix indentation all the time, and so splitting it out and having one indentation commit and then one commit that is actually for a ticket.
Helps like your team like with debugging and finding different things. And
Yeah.
all that. Yeah. Cool. Okay, cool.
Also, if you have to revert something, I want those indentations to stay, but if somebody decides, nope, we're sticking with pounds, we're not going with dollars, I can revert just the dollar change, but the indentation all stays. So like I was saying, all the rest of the stuff in the file I know is either, is all dollar signs. So I can use done to say I'm done with this file, or Q to say I'm done if I had multiple files. I'm just going to use Q because that's what I default to. And now you can see I'm back at my prompt. So if I run get status, and I'll move this to the top of the screen. Okay, so you can see the top of the screen, cool. So if I run get status, you'll see now I have a modified, so a staged index.html, and I have a modified index.html. So there's one file, but it's in the staging index and not in the staging index, which is awesome. So let's look at get diff cached. So this is what is in the staging index. So you can see here it's all indentation, indentation, more indentation, but you can see at the bottom of the screen still the pound sign is still there. And then if I just do a regular get diff, so this is what's on the file locally, you can see it's all just dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign, so all the dollar sign changes. So now I can do a git commit. I'll give that a message of fix indentation. These are going to be bad commit messages. Oh, actually, yeah, so that was staged. So now if I do git status again, you can see I just have, so that's been committed. So now I can git add index.html and then git commit. I know that all those are the dollar signs. So replace pound with dollar. Good enough. Okay, so now if I run git status, or sorry, git log, you can see I have two commits. So fix indentations and replace dollars are two separate commits. So now if somebody's reviewing my changes on GitHub, they can click through, they can kind of filter out all the indentation and just see like what was relevant to the ticket. So lots of advantages. Nextly, we have commit amending. So this allows you to make changes to the most recent commit. So let's say you commit something and then you realize like, oh, I forgot to add a file, or oh, I should probably put that in my git commit message. Commit amending allows you to modify the top commit on a branch. You can change the message, change the files, add, remove files. So those are some of the advantages. So let's do commit amending. Let's get, if I can spell. And of course, people are watching, so I can't type. I'm just going to run my reset script quick. Okay, so cat the readme. Okay, so this is the commit amending. So we want to change the typo. So apparently we have a typo in one of our commit messages. We also want to change the typo in a file. So I'm going to do that as two separate things. You could theoretically do them as the same one, or not theoretically, you can. But let's see what we got. So if I do git log, we can see the top commit there. Obviously, that commit message is all jarbled up. Somebody was typing way too fast and just committed it, and it was probably Friday at 5 p.m. and they just wanted to push it, and let's fix that. So if we do git commit -- amend, you'll see we're dropped into our editor, and we're modifying that commit. So I'm going to delete this character, I'm going to insert an N there, and go to the end and delete this X, and now that looks like a way better commit message. So if I write and quit, I can run git status, or git log again. And now you can see it's fixed. But one important thing that I want you to pay attention to, at the top of the screen, you'll see it's the hash of this commit is 5138C. The hash down here is EB7C. So we have changed that commit. So it actually just created a whole new commit. It took all the stuff from that commit and just made a totally new one. The important thing here is if you're pushing to GitHub or working with somebody else on a team, you have to force push to the remote repository, and you also have to, let your team know if you're. I would never recommend doing this on the main branch or develop or anything, but just do it on your feature branches. But if you're working with something else, the history has changed, so it's important. I usually do this and double check before I actually push anywhere. That way, it's only on my machine. I'm the only person that's messing with. But just to note that this does change history. All right, secondly, it said to edit a file. So if I go to the index.html, you'll notice this, so we're inside the file. You can see this, there's an extra M there, there's an extra M there. All right, so we fixed that. So we're gonna do the same thing. So we'll do git add index.html, and then we can do, if we do git status, really git status. So you can see it's staged, so git commit -m, and we'll call this, oh, actually, sorry, no, we're not doing git, we're doing git commit -- amend, okay? So when I run that, again, I'm dropped into my editor. I don't need to fix the message, so I can hit escape, write and quit. And now if I do git log, you'll see it's changed again. So now we have nothing changed in our directory, but we have a new commit again. Now, as you can kind of guess, we could change the file and the title at the same time and then just do git commit amend once, but I wanted to show you independently. You can, if you notice there's something wrong with your title, you don't have to add or subtract files or change any files. You can just change the top commit.
Alex, when would you use that for reset the last commit?
So with resetting, you actually just get all your changes back, and then you have to like kind of, well, everything still can be staged, but you just make a totally new commit. It's identical. The only difference is, I guess it saves like one command. You don't have to actually run reset. You just git add, git commit amend, and it just tacks it on. But doing a reset and then, or I guess it's a either well, it's soft or mixed reset, and then just making a new commit, it's exactly identical to that.
That wouldn't be advanced.
But it wouldn't be advanced. Yeah. Okay. So on to the next thing. So rebasing. So this is very similar to amending, except for you can change all of the history. So this is asterisk dangerous. I'll mention it at the bottom. But so you apply all the commits on your current branch on top of another commit. So it doesn't have to be a branch. It could be a tag. It could be just the commit hash. You can apply it all. So if you think about commits kind of like cards, you're taking the commits that you've worked on off the top of a deck of cards, throwing away the deck of cards, getting a whole new deck of cards that you want, and then replaying your commits on top. And I do use the word replaying on purpose. That I'm working on, but I know that I want that change off of the main branch. So we're just going to try and rebase in the current state. So if I run git rebase, so or actually, let me show you what we want. Git log main. So this is our main branch. You can see at the top there, oh, replace the pound sign with a dollar sign. That's the feature that we want. Our senior developers have been working on for 2 weeks. It must be important. We want that. So I can do git rebase. I'll go to the top screen. Git rebase main. So this is saying that we want to rebase our current branch on top of the main branch. So just to prove, so we're gonna get stuff. Sorry, I'm jumping around here, trying to go quick. Git log. So we do not have that commit anywhere in our history. So we branched off of main before that commit was added or merged or whatever. So we have the initial commit and like we create the index page. But the thing that we're working on is products. We accidentally added like an empty file. We have more product stuff we're working on. Then we removed the empty file because we noticed that was there. But yeah, so we want to get rebase main. So we're going to rebase our changes on top of the main branch. And you see we get an error. So we cannot rebase because we have unstaged changes. So we have changes locally. We have that index file that we modified. So we have to deal with that first. So if you're ever trying to rebase, just know you have to have like a clean working directory because Git does a bunch of acrobatics to get it there. So this is a very common error. I get this like all the time where I have like just one file that I like change one line and I'm just like, let's get rid of it. All right, so here we go. We're going to do git add index.html. We're going to git commit. I forget what it is. What do we got? Oh, change the cost. Git commit. I guess the git rebase main. And it just goes clean. So now we do git log to see what our history is. And we can see down here. So now we have the replace pound sign, the dollar sign. That's on the main branch. And then all of our changes were just replayed on top of it. If I scroll up to the last place I did git log, all of these hashes change. So E3 and then 8F, and if we go down here, this is not E3, this is not 8F. So all of, again, we're replaying the history, all of the commits change. So just be careful about that if you're going to work on a branch with another developer. Count 3. So we did the first and second thing here, so we rebased on top of it. Okay, so now we're going to do some other stuff. So we noticed we had that empty file. We're going to get rid of that. Both of those commits, so we added it and then we subtracted it later. And then we're going to squash some stuff. So we're going to do a couple of commits that are probably the same, so we're just going to squash them. So let's do git log. You can see here, accidentally added an empty file. Up here, we removed an empty file. So we've done git rebase in standard mode. Now we're going to do git rebase in interactive mode. We know that we just rebased on top of main, so that's a pretty good target. Here you just have to tell it which commit you want to build on top of. So we could just pick this hash here, so we want to rebase on top of that. Or we could just use a branch. We know main was the last thing to rebase on top of, so that's a good target. So when we do this, we're dropped into our editor. And our editor gives us a bunch of options. All of them are outlined at the bottom. So you can notice now they're all set to pick. So essentially Git will, like I said, throw away the deck of cards. They're going to bring in a new deck of cards. Then it's going to pick the first commit, pick the second commit, third, fourth, fifth. It's just going to pick all the commits, and that's why they become new commits. So pick, so it means use the commit. So we can use R or reword to reword the commit, but edit the commit message. We can do E or edit, and it'll stop on that commit so that you can add files, delete files, change the commit message before moving on. We can do S to squash. F for fix up is very similar to squash, but we don't care about the commit message. So to start off, we just want to, or actually, and all the way down the bottom here, drop so we can remove the commit. So we have 2 commits that we want to remove. So if I look at these and split on empty, and change these to drop. So now you can see what we have. We're going to pick this commit, we're going to drop the second commit, and we're going to pick the third commit, drop the fourth commit, and then pick this one. So we were dropping all the ones we don't care about, picking all the ones we do care about. So skip right and quit. And now if I run git log, you can see it succeeded. But if I run git log, you can see the empty commits are now gone. All of the hashes up here, again, have changed. This was, I think, 0, 8, and this was EF or something. But all the commits have changed. But we only have 3 now on top of main. But if you look at these, so we did products in the first row, products in the second row, and then we changed some more product names. Those seem like they should probably be one commit, be a little bit easier to review, keep the commit history clean. So if I interactive rebase again on top of main, just keep working with what works. Now you can see I'm only presented with those 3. You always have to pick the first one. I guess you could drop the first one theoretically, but you can't like squash the first one, I guess. That doesn't make any sense where you squash it into. So we're going to work on these second 2. So if I change this to squash, and just to show that the short syntax works as well, we can do an S. So squash or S are both listed here. So we're going to pick the first commit, squash the second commit into the first one, and squash the third commit into the first one. So if I write and quit, now I'm presented with all 3 of these. These are all the 3 commit messages. So I can just delete all those, and then, oh, not that, and then make my own commit message. So rename products. Write and quit that commit message, and then run git log again. And now you can see this is so much cleaner. It's not this thing, that thing, tests, add an image, do this other thing. We have one commit. It's very concise. It tells you exactly what it does. We just renamed a bunch of products. All the changes were the same. So just cleaning up history a little bit by a little bit. All right, so let's count the remake. I think there's some more. We do have step 2. So that's step 2 script. Okay, so for step 2, it says we want to rebase on main again to get the new feature that you heard about in stand-up this morning that the managers were all talking about. So let's check what that is. So if we do git log main, we can see, oh, marketing made a new change. There's a coffee mug sale. So we just renamed all the products, but now there's a sale. Let's pull that in and just make sure that because they're probably going to be close to our changes that we're making. We want to make sure when we push this to GitHub, it doesn't, tests don't fail. So we go back to git rebase main, and we get a merge conflict. So it says that it tells you the file that the conflict is in, so index.html. The commit that it failed on was renamed products, And then it gives you some helpful stuff down here, so you can, you can add and remove the files with the conflicts, and then run git rebase continue. So let's give that a try. Let's open up index.html. And I know that if you have a merge conflict, you just search for these arrows here. So it looks like this is the old thing. So product name is what it used to be. We renamed it to plastic coffee mug. It looks like they added some styling, so green. So let's just get all the styling. Let's move that down here. And then we need to delete these lines. We can just delete all those lines. And there we go. So that looks like good HTML. Let's go to the next change. Yeah, looks like exactly the same thing. So let's do the same thing. Oh, not bad. Actually, let's copy this again. Doesn't matter if you go up or down, just as long as your file looks right when you're done. Delete that, delete these three. Search for the next one. No more matches. All right, so then we can quit. And if we do a git status, we'll see that we have both are modified. Both sides of this change are modified, so we need to add that file. So we know that the file looks good, so we git add index. And then we can git rebase -- continue. All right. And we're presented with this, the message, the rename products that was on the tip of our branch is just saying like, hey, we had to make some changes. You're rebasing, so you're changing the history. So we're just going to give you the option to change the commit again. But we don't want to, so we just write and quit. We want the same thing. So now if we run git log, you can see all of our history. So we have the replace the pound sign with a $sign. We have the marketing, and then here at the top we have our change. So you can see that the main branch has moved up to here. So we're still only one commit on top of main. So we know when we merge that, it's going to be super recent, it's going to be super fresh, going to merge in, no test failures. All right, I'm going to try to fly through work trees. So work trees are probably my favorite feature. So if you look at, you can have multiple directories linked to the same local Git repository. So each directory has its own branch. And this is way better than somebody comes over to your desk and is like, hey, we have found a bug in production, can you fix it? And you're like, all right, git stash, go do this other stuff, and then have to come back. But let me go here. So if you, actually, so let me go up one directory. So this will be my project folder. You can notice I have multiple subfolders. I have one called main, one called deals. Those sound a little bit like branch names. I also have this init work tree script. So if I go to the deals directory, because let's say I'm working on a deals feature, so I have like, we're working on a deals feature here. Adding a deals page to the navigation. So git log, actually it doesn't matter, so cat readme. So I'm working on a deals feature. QA team found a bug in production. They need it fixed ASAP. The social media link is apparently wrong. So we're going to cd to our main directory because we want to branch off of main. And then git work tree add /social -links. So I'm just going to make a new directory within my work tree. And when I do that, it says create a new work directory. If I do an ls.doc, so this is the folder above, you can see now there's a new folder, social links. So I can cd into that folder. If I run ls, I have the readme, I have the index file. I have all my stuff, I can do all my changes. If I do ls-la though, you'll notice the git file there is a file, it's not a directory. So the local git repository still lives in the main directory. This is just a kind of separate folder. And you have the .git file, which actually just points back and says like, hey, I'm not a real git directory is over there. So you have one local repository. So if you're pulling and pushing from git, you have all the changes in kind of all of your directories. You don't have to sync them all individually, which is super awesome. But if we have the readme, so the QA team found a bug. How much time do I have? A minute?
I would say 1 minute, then QA.
All right, cool. So if we go here and we look for TechLancaster, you can see, oh no, it was example.com. It wasn't TechLancaster. TechLancaster.com. So we write and quit, and then we make our commit. Oh. I'm doing it out doc. Don't judge me. Don't do that though. And so we can do that, and then, so now we're still working on that, or we're just getting it ready, or we pushed it for review. We can keep that locally, but then management comes over and they're like, hey, we want to do this other thing. I forget what it was. Cat readme. The manager wants to adjust something in the about section. So we go back to the main directory. We can make another work tree. It's its own separate branch. And we can make our own changes there. So then we have like kind of a separate folder for each change that we're making. And it's not git stash, git check out a different branch, which branch was that on, then you just have a list of branches. You can do git work tree list, and that lists out which branches are on in what folders, where they are exist on your system. And yeah, I guess I'll wrap it up there. Are there any questions? Ben, go ahead.
So you were showing examples of git event and then git your change it commit hash.
Yep.
But let's say I do that accidentally, didn't mean it happen.
Okay.
My hash permanently changed. Am I able to go back and change it?
That is a great question, and that is advanced part 2. So there's something called the ref log. So if you run git ref log, it will show you all of the hashes and all of the changes and all of the branches that you've switched back and forth to. And so it will tell you your old hash. So you can pull your old hash from there, just do like a git reset hard, type in your old hash, and your branch will be right back to where it was.
Git reset scary.
Git reset it, -- hard is very scary. Again, use that with extreme caution.
Well, you
But
don't
the ref log is your savior.
to use that, you could instead choose to switch it to a new branch for that. Like you could make a new branch off the commit.
You can do that as well.
Um,
But if you already like pushed it or something, I mean, the branch on GitHub on the pull request is going to be, you can't. So you're going to have to get the change back on the branch for some reason.
yeah,
I mean, if you need to. If you just think you lost stuff, git ref log, it saves you once or twice. Like you make a change commit, do a rebase and or something, and then it's like, oh no, I forgot to add this one file and now it's just missing. Go back through the ref log and it kind of tells you how to get back to where you were. It is very confusing though, so definitely, whenever you realize you made a mistake in Git, don't type any more Git commands. Except for git ref log, just stop, because if you git check out another branch or git reset or git add or anything, the ref log is just getting longer and then the commits you have to look through her more and more.
On the work tree, what was the, you type .. / folder name? Or the
Oh, sure.
work tree name? What was it relative to?
So it would just be relative to the current directory that I'm in.
Right, but
So I was in the work trees, which would be my project.
Okay, so
Or go
the
ahead.
other question is, where is work tree relative to the project tree?
So work tree is the project. I just use work tree as like part of my demo, but work trees would be website or front end or whatever. That would be your project, and inside of that you have, and you don't have to do the model I use. So I like so project, and then inside of that is each branch that I have kind of checked out locally. The advantage to me there is I can put scripts in that folder or do anything that I would need for like, any of those folders. But you can check out like just clone main and then just make a work tree within inside of that git command or that git directory. You can put a work tree wherever, or you can just do like / whatever mount and put it on a network store or whatever you want to do, kind of thing. I don't know if a network store would necessarily work because of permissions and whatnot, but yeah, you can put work trees wherever you want. You could have just kind of one like projects level folder and have, site - main, site - new change, site - and just put them all side by side in the projects folder like that if you wanted to.
What if you have a work tree inside your, where, like, let's say .git is in root,
Okay.
and you have a work tree inside your root as well. So it'd be kind of like a subnode, right? Except,
Kind of. I know some people do it. I have not done it that way because I think that if you do a git status, it does tell you like, hey, there's this other folder here.
Okay.
I don't know if it automatically ignores it, so that gets a little bit. So that's why I go one directory up at least. Yeah. Any other questions?
So what are you feeling about squashing squashing it in
I think it makes sense if you're using some tool to merge commits. I think squashing into main could make sense. So I am very opinionated about like what a git commit should be. So I think each commit should be like its own like ideologic set of changes. So typically when I push to GitHub, I have one commit. So I don't think you're talking about. Are you talking about not necessarily squashing to main? Actually, it is called squashing to
Well,
main on GitHub.
I mean, basically just like when you're done with the feature grants, doing a squash and then merging that one squash commit into your main versus keeping the history of, all coordinated in the feature.
And then you push your main branch to the remote repository, or are you like working them by yourself?
So, yeah, pushing the main branch to road.
Okay. I know some teams do allow everybody to push to main, in which case you do need to. So I guess the question isn't necessarily should you be able to push main. It is should you squash. I think you should squash if you have like commits that are like fixed tests and add image, kind of like the stuff I was talking about before. But I think those should really stay as two separate commits, because when somebody's reading through the commit history, they kind of get a better picture. They see like, oh, hey, here's where we changed the dollar sign, and here's where, oh, there, somebody's fixing the indentation stuff, which the indentation stuff might be, inconsequential. But then if like somebody wants to revert one of those changes for whatever reason, dollar signs broke tests, we need to revert it, and we'll fix it later. Now at least the indentation is still fixed. So I would say you can squash to main if you have like whatever 10 or 15 commits and they're all kind of like related to the same thing. I would say that's a great practice. Keep the commit history clean, and kind of like reading a book. You can see what each thing is and who did what.
Thank you, Alex. We will break for about 5 minutes and then start with Joel.
Everyone, my name is Joel Walker. As Josh just said, thank you for being here, sharing your time. Is anyone here for the first time tonight? Wow. Holy shit, thanks for being here. Okay. Anyone at CPOSC? Yeah, all right. This is not to form favorites, but did anybody see my talk at CPOSC? Okay, the curious few. I'm notoriously bad at finishing on time, and so that's why I asked to go last tonight. So I want to get two things out of the way. One, I gave a talk at CPOSC. It was called A Decade in Retrospect. By the end of the 35 minutes I had to speak, I got to the decade I wanted to talk about. True story. Two, yeah, it sounds weird, doesn't it? Oh, is that better? That's better. Two, I might talk long tonight, and if you gotta go, just go, you know? That's okay. I won't be offended and all of that. It's a weird space to come and go from. This is my permission saying, yeah, totally, it's fine, just go. Okay, and third caveat, how many people in this room know me? They can tell you it's true when I say I overshare and I get emotional. So I apologize in advance. Here we go. Okay, hang on. Yeah, this is important. So Luke and I talked about this for a long time. This originally started as a, hey, I'd like to finish that CPOSC talk that I didn't finish sort of talk, and then it kind of evolved into this. This balance that seems to be at the center of some curiosity between the business that is Industrial Resolution, PubForge, and the local tech community. And we called it Walking the Tightrope. And after I gave Luke a sneak peek at what I was going to talk about, he said, Joel, you need a better title. And I was like, fuck you, I do. But then I was like, he's right. So, this is it. How to give a fuck about work. An entrepreneur's guide to finding my passion, building for pride, and importantly, respecting the relationships which affirm, challenge, and generally speaking, have helped me grow. This is going to be a open book case study in what not to do and what to do. Use it to your advantage, however you would like. Okay. So first off, this is me, currently today. After 15 years of being in this industry, I have nicely defined lines. Look at them. It's so nice. This is me. I like to sail. I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, a little dog named Mowgli. I like to climb mountains with that guy when I don't get into accidents that prohibit me from climbing mountains. That's me. I've got my life to things that I like, just like you do. And so, yeah, you need to know me. The best way to do it is, here's a quick story. I'm not native from here. I am a pastor's kid. Oh, wait, I gotta go back. Not native means I moved here when I was 3. So that means I'm not from Lancaster. Anybody move here with, I say PC and AC, like, or BC, right, before COVID, after COVID? Any after COVIDs? All right. Don't worry. You couldn't have gotten here on time to be from here. You're not from here. If you can't play the Mennonite name game and go back a few generations. But what worked for me is I was a pastor's kid, so I grew up sort of religious, and I went to Locust Grove Mennonite School, and that was where in elementary, that's where I first realized I'm not from here. Then I went to Lampeter Strasbourg. This is another pop quiz. If anybody asks you, where did you go to school? And you're anywhere within 2 hours drive of Lancaster, you answer with your high school. That is the proper answer. It's a test. It's always a test. You don't tell them about your 4 master's degrees, your college education. You just say, I went to Lampeter Strasbourg. That's how they know you're from here. And then you can tell them all about the fancy stuff you've done with your life. That's the test. So then you start with that, and then you go with PSU Berks. I went there because I wasn't good enough to get into PSU Maine, and it was also, I could play soccer there. And so I did that for a little while, but then I became a college opt-out. I like that phrase better than dropout because, you know, it just doesn't sound so bad. But I chose to leave college mostly because I was the president of the ski club. And the owner of the organization that we sent all of the ski club trips through, he was like, "Do you want a job in Vermont welcoming buses full of college people to this mountain?" And I was like, tough choice. Business class or college kids on buses going to have fun. I chose that one, and it changed my life forever. I never finished my college education. Instead, I became a business owner, and then I became a business owner again, and then I became a business owner again. And now, I'm the chairman of a nonprofit organization. Weird story. You need to know what we do, Industrial Resolution. For 15 years, basically, I have been involved in the art of delivering custom software as a service. That means that we design, architect, build. We are listening to people about what they need and trying to build that. It's pretty sweet. Keeps us really actually engaged and intrigued. We're always working on something different. People ask us for things, our clients push us. We do a long haul, sort of long-term partnership approach. So you build something kind of custom, you have an obligation to support it. So we do it for years. So we have projects that, and clients that have been going 8 and 9 years, and they can't believe that they get to still work with the same people that they were working with back in the day. Lately, we built a lot of apps. We do a lot of big data through Elastic. We integrate all the things, and that's that. Service work, though, is all bound up by billable hours, and what we've realized is strategic partnerships are really, really nice. So Elastic's a cool company, it's a cool tool, and they have so much external framework for us to grow on. And this is this is foreshadowing for the talk, because how many people here work for a company that's not headquartered here? All right, so you understand that that's a very smart and normal thing to be doing, right? You get paid bank to work for some San Francisco company and live here. Princess Bride, any Princess Bride fans? That movie, there's lines like, the whole time he's been living like a king in Patagonia. Well, I think that a lot of engineers are living like a king in Lancaster because the cost of living is great, you make really good money, and that's that. We are doing the same thing that everyone is. We've got our Silicon Valley sugar daddy that gives us a lot of great work. This is a bit of our motto. It's Cura et Industria, it means care in industry. Interspersed amongst that is this quick history. In 2013, we had the idea, and in 2014, we made it happen. Jake remembers, he was there. I don't know if I see anyone else that was there. But we had the first meetup that we could think of that wasn't the New Tech meetup was the Lancaster Drupal user group meetup. We had a sweet hookup where we would meet at the Lancaster Science Factory. It was a cool place to do. The idea was, oh yeah, you can bring your kids and they can play and we'll talk tech. But nobody actually wanted to come to a Drupal user group meetup in Lancaster. Imagine that. So it sort of changed, and I got to give the credit to Tyler Golden, who's not here. He's at a burning event somewhere in Maryland. Tyler sent me an email and said, hey, I think that we should register this domain name, TechLancaster.com. Can the company make that happen? It's $9.99, and I think we should build a website and start organizing these meetups. And so that launched a whole new phase of life. We started TechLancaster. Does anyone remember that first year? It was lightning. It basically, what was happening here now is a bit of that taste. Like, we were getting big crowds out. In the first year, I think 7 meetups started just on talks that were given. Like, talks that were like, holy shit, that's so riveting. I need to know more. And I was like, well, cool, start another meetup. And the schedule, the monthly calendar filled out, and people could no longer attend all the meetups. It was like meetup overload. But that first year was super amazing. 2014 into 15. At that same time, some idiot put me on the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. I was I was on record as I hate the chamber. It wasn't my style. But Tom Bulger's looked me in the eyes, and if you know Tom, he's like, we need you. That's exactly why you need to be there. And he got me hook, line, and sinker. Like, cool, so I get to tell people what I think on the board. That sounds great. At the same time, Central Pennsylvania Open Source Conference was looking for a transition. So this is a community-driven event. It happens once a year. And a lot of people went to it, and I see a lot of shirts out there. This is talks about all things tech. I always call it the county fair of tech conferences. Like people, it's like the best blue ribbon brownies that they've been cooking in their kitchen. And now they're gonna like take it out and show people. And it's very exciting because the talks are actually super high caliber. And there's no prestige. There's no like huge exhibit halls and like gratuitous money being spent. It's just like this awesome, true blue, innovative, sharing. So CPOSC was amazing. We got involved and it turned out that they were so desperate to get out, they sold the whole damn thing to me for $1. So that became the most costly burden I may have actually ever picked up for $1. PA STEM became a thing in my life not long ago. Became a PA STEM ambassador, joined a nationwide network of people interested in technology education, which at the same time that was happening led to the creation of the Thaddeus Stevens Computer Software Engineering Tech, program. At the, fast forward 2 or 3 years, we decided to give CPOSC a overhaul, and we launched our first nonprofit called Local Area Networks, just in time for COVID to hit. So that was bad timing. We had a 3-year board term. Really awesome people signed up. We'd have our board meeting, and we literally, for 3 years, did nothing. But we did put on a hybrid conference. Did anyone go to the hybrid? You remember. It was nice, but it wasn't CPOSC. So, that brings me to now. This is in basically 9 years since TechLancaster started. This is the first time I've actually talked in front of you, which is why my voice sounds weird like it does. We're gonna do like a deep breath out. All right. It shouldn't be so hard because I'm talking about things I care about. So local area networks, I have to do this because I'm the chairman of the board and that's what I have to do. Nobody knows what we do. We are on a mission to empower and expand a community of passionate technologists. We care about empowering and uplifting people in this community, promoting respect and inclusion for all, connecting industries and workforces. And I consider each and every human being here a workforce. And that's that bridge. We sustain an enduring ecosystem because when you ask anyone at the Lancaster EDC or chamber, there are 5 pillars to Lancaster stability: agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, healthcare, and retail, and tech, which brings more money into our local economy than most of those. Doesn't get any credit. You know why? Because most people that work in tech here don't actually work for tech companies here. Interesting. We hide. So they don't think we exist, but we do, and everyone's spending a shit ton of money on the awesome restaurants and all the things that we have here. So this enduring ecosystem, this is an organization that allows people in this room to be recognized and have a voice in that larger conversation. We want to transfer knowledge and raise the ability of all, and tech is the originator of the lifelong learning mindset. All right, sorry, long introduction. This is what we're going to talk about. This is how I know it'll be good. My goal is to add energy to this community. I want to grow my business. I want to reinvest that business growth into this community. It's a cycle. Years ago, 10 years ago, for me to say that out loud, I would have shriveled up and died. Jake, back there, once upon a time told me, Joel, it's okay. you can tell people that you're my boss. That was really hard for me to do. It took a long time to get here, but here I've gotten. How am I gonna measure my success? This has been happening. I don't know what'll come of this, but if over the next few years, somebody looks back and says, hey, this talk, I was there that night, you said that thing, and it helped me think about this thing. Joe Luttrell, has anyone seen Cube, the satellite company? Joe paid me the nicest compliment the other 3 months ago. He said, when we met at the East Coast Rep Rap Fest when I was trying to promote CPOSC, he said, you filled my head with ideas and you gave me inspiration. And part of this step towards being in small business is because of what you said. And that was the nicest thing anyone ever said. And I quickly reminded him, your success has fucking nothing to do with me. But that was the nicest thing ever, and I have a tally. And so, this is my success. If in the next 10 years, anyone else says, hey, remember that talk? I'm gonna add more tallies. That's my success measure. What does that look like? To count as one of my tallies, it means that maybe you've started a local business. It means that maybe you've chosen to work for a local company. Or you invest your time or money locally into a tech business or land. And that seems weirdly self-serving. It's like, Joel, get a grip. The real money's somewhere else. But I'd like to promote to you that it's not. Well, no, sorry. It is. But there are reasons to think otherwise. So let's come back to me, because now I gotta tell you a story. So after all these years, I had those nice tidy lines, but when it all started, it looked a lot more like this. There were no lines. It was what felt good. Who was I connecting with? When you're at a meetup like this, the possibilities are endless. You have no idea. Where do they work? What can they teach me? What can be learned? The relationship aspect of what was happening 10 years ago was insane. Lancaster was ripe to be discovered for tech. And people here were passionate. I changed my title about how to give a fuck. So if you want to see what it looks like when you have fucks to give, I have a good example. You're sitting in a space called PubForge. Does anyone know what PubForge actually is? That's what I thought. No one does, except the guy grinning like a bastard back there. This is a guy who had. He sounds like. Some people call them engineers, some people call them developers, some call them programmers. PubForge is a group of critical thinkers, actually, and problem solvers.
It's amazing how much talent we can have in a small town like this. It's a very diverse set of talent.
Just because you work on a computer and you're algorithmically minded doesn't mean that you're antisocial.
PubForge creates an environment where technology can thrive because it helps technologists thrive.
We need a place where tech-minded people, technologists, whatever you want to call us, we can join together with other people who are like-minded and share ideas and share concepts.
People that wouldn't work day to day with each other because they work at different companies and such will be able to interact with each other, share ideas, and be involved with each other's work and lives. And that is incredible. We want programmers to be at their best, in their element. What I'm most excited about with PubForge is the fact that from the very beginning, community, and what the community needs, and how PubForge can support the community has been at the forefront of the discussions about what PubForge is ultimately going to be.
Lancaster techies have as much drive and passion as anybody else. You know, you don't have to be in Silicon Valley or San Francisco to have passion for what you do.
That's what it's all about. It's a huge, mind-blowingly exciting thing. And we're going to showcase Lancaster as a place where technologists can thrive by bringing together the best, the brightest, the most capable programmers so that they can come together and push themselves to raise the standard.
And even if we don't work for the same company, or even if we're working on completely different projects, we can still bounce the ideas off each other and help each other grow and just have a sense of mutual respect for the fact that we're here to work and get shit done. You're gonna like the way you work.
That guy had fucks to give, aplenty. So now I have to tell you a story. That's what it looked like at what I call the swell, part one. So just a few characteristic traits that we're not in any way telling the CPOSC version of the story. In the beginning, this company started because we had an opportunity to literally not sell off the book of business and shut it down. It was just every 2 weeks that we stayed alive was another paycheck. Hey, that seemed like a compelling reason to stay alive. Survival was the focus. We did software as a service. We formed very quickly a symbiotic independence, meaning I was the person that I'm comfortable saying I'm the boss, but I could really connect and matchmake people that had a great skill set to solve problems to people that otherwise wouldn't talk to them, basically. And so a match was made. We had a shared and a hope of earned success, and word of mouth referral was our guide. Satisfy one customer at a time, solve one problem at a time, and it grows. 4 years of that go by. I buy the company in 2013. It still actually becomes way more about survival. It's, well, holy shit, you want to really put something out there, buy something and become accountable to it in that way. It was still about survival. After a little while, everything became a service we would provide. See, when we first started, one of the things that we were trying to learn from was one company was sort of dissolving while another one was being rebuilt, and we had a core question, and that question was, in this day and age, can a programmer have one job at one place and still get a gold watch at the end of their career, a pension, a whole thing, and be satisfied? Because what we were seeing as very normal back then, we called transient tech worker syndrome, TTSD. And that, you know already what it is. This weird thing where people seem to stay at a job for 6 months and then they take another one. Which, you know, seems normal now, but back then was like an anomaly. And we're like, well, that's interesting. Could we buck that trend? Why do people take new jobs? We started to get into that. We had a question that perpetually drove us. That led to all of that into this weird confidence that if we keep asking good questions and wrap it with good people, you'll overcome any challenge. What that led to was in pursuing a question, instead of pursuing, for instance, a vision, we became dependent on our belief in good people, which led to a gridlock of codependence and doubt from people that thought we could continue to satisfy them. Our referrals were coming from everywhere, and it was a very chaotic time. That led to the crash, which led to the trough, at the point where IndieRes almost went out of business. Again, I don't know if you're noticing this, survival, survival, survival. It never changed. Software as a service became the focus once again. No longer were we making videos and photos and marketing things. We were just doing what we were good at all along. That survival-driven problem solving led to almost a siloed independence. We lost our ability to work together as a team, but as individuals, we kept the entire thing afloat. That time, while everyone was scrambling to get everything done, I was scrambling to find a path forward. And it really did come from simplifying and finding clients that pushed us, problems we're solving, getting back to our basics. And what we realized is that without a vision, this is bound to happen again. It's a cycle. And see, there was an existential problem that was happening back in 2015 that started to manifest. We caught the wind of this one big deal. The United States Women's Open Golf Tournament was coming to Lancaster. Now, this is the largest sporting event that's ever come to Lancaster, and back then it was like, holy shit, you gotta be a part of it. In golf, there's one women's major every year, and you can't start marketing or advertising it until the current one is done for the next one. The person that was running the tournament for Lancaster devised an entire plan that involved getting ready to like launch on day one. And we went up against all these ad agencies and we won. We won this pitch. We outperformed and won on a major project. And we spent the next 3 months in perhaps maybe some of the most stressful times of our lives. I think I actually almost threw somebody out of a window. I'm not lying. But I didn't, which is important. That would have changed things. But basically what happened from that was we went on to succeed. Arnold Palmer came. He gave away this huge golden ticket. Social media and games were huge, and we capitalized on that. And in the end, we ended up selling more tickets to that Women's Open than even to date have ever been sold to a women's sporting event of any sport in history anywhere. That was a little bit of tailored service, but unfortunately opened us up to making some bad decisions. We knew that contract, which was huge for us, was going to end, and what do we do then? We make a big jump forward. How do we make a big jump forward? Well, the people that were helping us with that could help us with other things just like that. We started to leave the main thing in the sidelines and start to say yes to everything. That's what led here. A vision that would have said, that's not what we do, would have helped us then. Also cost us a huge reputation building opportunity, but it would have helped us then. So, in that time, the past 7 years, we've been following a vision, equipping people, building partnerships that scale by providing services that satisfy. Now, I don't mean to sugarcoat it, it's still about survival. This is a small business in Lancaster. So where's all this going? These are lessons that I've learned. Number one, the main thing is keeping the main thing the main thing. It's very simple, but if you lose sight of why you're doing a thing in the first place and start going with what feels good, that's going to be a problem. And I submit that that has everything to do with the jobs that we're taking. Why do we hop jobs? Some people, it's because everyone's saying, well, you'd be stupid not to. And some people, because the grass was greener and then it proved not to be. Whatever the reason. I don't think it matters whether you're a business or an individual. You need to know yourself. You need to know, what do I care about? What's my vision? And in order to know that, there's this concept, lifestyle business versus growth business. Does anyone know what that is? Jake, what is it?
Well, your growth business is your standard, like always be growing, always get bigger and bigger. That's just one goal. Lifestyle business is more about finding the balance that you're comfortable in and staying in it. And that means at some point you make a decision: are we going to become a growth business? Are we going to follow that trajectory, or are we going to stay where we're at?
Yeah. In business, a lifestyle business is considered one where it exists to propagate the lifestyle of the owners. That's it. It's not all about growth, 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 money, 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 whatever it might be. Now think about what the normal tech sphere looks like. What's a normal tech company? Is that a lifestyle business? No. That's a growth business. And what does that mean? it means that somebody else sets the terms of how you'll operate. When somebody brings the money, they make the rules, and there you have it. And why is that great? Well, to be honest, 10 years ago, most normal businesses were taking the average programmer, using those skills to make some money, and they weren't taking the time to appreciate or validate what that person was actually contributing. And if the average business, the average, let's just call it the honest business, isn't doing that, well then why the fuck does it matter? Because we can make a ton of money doing something else, somewhere else. Now, I'm not gonna go too much farther down that. I'm just gonna keep going down my list. But I've always believed that, so we are a lifestyle business at IndieRes. We're just a lifestyle business that has a lot of people whose lifestyle is we'd like to achieve things, get a lot of cool shit done, and have our beer taste good at the end of the day. We want to enjoy the people that we work next to. One of the ways that you need to do that is by understanding that symbiotic relationship. You can't have a whole bunch of engineers running a company that's going to actually, you can do a lifestyle business that way, but I don't know how long it'll last. The reality is, one of the things that always made us successful is that I couldn't actually do the work that we sold. And I was dependent on people that could. That codependence was really important, which made this question, can a programmer realistically work for the same company and expect a fulfilling life, a really important one. Standing here 10 years later, I can honestly tell you, yeah, they can. I don't want to speculate too much. I can just tell you that people have gone through absolute hell to work for us for 10 plus years. That is amazing. Community is a compelling thing. That's another lesson that I've learned. Our business without this community almost wouldn't be here. I'm almost certain of it. There's something about the importance to this place that kept us together. And what I learned in 2017, when we could hardly stay alive, that year we had to put CPOSC on. I've never endured something more difficult in my entire life. My wife, she organized and ran all the catering. She never lets me forget it to this day, that that was potentially one of the worst times in her life. But I knew then, if we didn't keep that conference running, this community would lose a thing. And I didn't realize it then, but what I realize now is all of that momentum that was building up before 2017, so for those that don't know, it started to wane. Prior to COVID didn't kill the meetup scene. And what we all said to each other was, oh, people got old, they had kids, they couldn't show up anymore. Somebody pointed this out and it stuck with me. I'm like, you know what else happened? We fell apart. We no longer existed. Like, no one at IndieRes showed up for meetups for almost a year and a half. And I'm not saying IndieRes made meetups, I'm simply saying that when people who contribute to communities come and go, that affects things. And that's a big deal. My next lesson was that momentum can reach a near state of perpetual motion. This is almost snake oil sales. That's what I've learned. Perpetual motion. I would say the closest thing to it in our industry is the frictionless environment of agile development. That's a lot of horse shit. Sorry, my bad. What that is, it's the illusion that if we organize things just right, it'll all work out. The trick about a perpetual motion machine is really finding the batteries. It's my lesson. The lesson is you actually have to acknowledge the energy and power source. And so, if nothing else, the lesson is, holy shit, this whole time we've relied on local businesses, not my business, just there's a lot of them. Cezanne, Mind. There's a ton of companies in this area, ListTrack, that sponsor CPOS. You look at the back of Rochelle's CPOS shirt, you'll see a bunch of local companies. They keep this meetup running. I was actually pleasantly surprised when I said, oh, who works for somebody else elsewhere? I was like, who works for somebody here in this area? That deserves a huge thank you, because we're already actually proving a point that people make these choices, and Lancaster deserves your investment. So the energy is actually these weird little businesses, because every single person burns out. Like, we volunteer on a thing, we push ourselves to do a thing, side projects are super fun. How many side projects do you take on that you just stick it out no matter what, at all costs? No, you don't. That's not what keeps things going. So finding the batteries on the momentum of a community actually comes down to the business. Weird, because in this day and age, it's easy to hate on businesses. So I wanted to leave you with this thing. Sorry, I don't know if this is like a drag of a talk, but this whole thing, this statement, work-life balance, everyone knows it, but I submit that nobody actually uses it, like, properly. Nobody's trying to find a balance. The only time we use this phrase is when you're trying to explain to somebody at work why you don't want to do something, right? Like, it's true. We've kind of given up on work. That's my point. So, I've been thinking about this, and these are my lessons. This is actually my secret, I suppose, to why I keep going. I don't know if that makes me smart or dumb. But this one, you have to know yourself. And that exists on a few planes, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But you have to find the lifestyle that you want. What is that? If that actually is the job hopping, remote working, overemployed, like thing, great. But I submit that that's actually all a sacrifice for what you really want. And sometimes people just do that because they don't know what they want. It seems like the smart thing to do. So my advice is, take some time to think about, what the hell do I actually really, really want? And then understand, work's not a bad thing. I'm from Lancaster, so that can be said. But work is actually the thing that, do you guys realize the only people that can validate the work you do are your coworkers and the people in this room? Like, the rest of the world looks at tech. What you just did, Alex, I couldn't follow. And if I can't follow it after 15 years, no one else that's like me or in the business suit can. And so who can validate and understand? It's this room, this community, these people. And the reason CPOS is cool and these meetups are awesome is because you can showcase something that you're proud of so that other people can get better. This is the importance of the community. We have to take pride in our work. And right now, meetups are this part of that helps no matter what company you're working for. We can come together and share. The thing that our current ecosystem I don't think is happening, balances enough, is that most of these relationships stop when these meetups end. As somebody who actually helped facilitate them, get them off the ground, find a house for it before we had PubForge, all of that, I can tell you that relationships take a lot of work. Actually, they take some of the most work. And when you're writing code, it's for someone. Who is that person? And what is important about what they want out of what you're trying to do? The majority of your time goes to understanding those sorts of things. Relationships need your balance. So, I guess I would stop here. The idea is, take some time to know thyself. Can anyone tell me what movie this quote is from? I knew somebody would. Thank you. It's the Matrix. It's the whole thinking, thing in the Matrix. But I think that you have to do this in 3 fronts. One, as a person, what the hell do I want? As somebody who chose to live here, why? Of all the places you could have moved to, why did you move to Lancaster? It's a fascinating question. There could be family ties, it could be this or that. The big question in my mind is, what would make you stay? If you're not from here, what brought you here, and what would make you stay? I would hope that it's something about the people you know or the work that you do, right? And so, what do we know about those things? I don't know. Sorry if I'm, yeah. I stop here and I ask questions now, or let everyone else ask questions. Basically, is there anything that anyone would like to know about our story back in the day, along the way, or lessons you might like to know? Because ultimately, success here is amazing. I'd love for you to start a business. I'd love for you to get involved in the tech community. I'd love for you to work for a local company. And I would love to know, honestly, open book, why you think that's a dumb idea. And ask me the toughest questions. That was kind of the idea. Sorry I talked so long. I did warn you.
Simple question, was it worth it?
Was it worth it?
Yeah. Or is it?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Is there a follow-up question, like why? Yeah.
How do you start growing a community?
Well, you have to have fucks to give, and then you start to give them.
Okay.
And that's the high-level answer. But ask me a sharper one, and I'll give you a sharper answer.
Okay. How do you start, like, let's say you want to start a tech community right now. That's not working out. How do you start pulling for people to come to your tech community?
So, back in the day, what we did was find a decently cool spot. The first thing we did was run a Drupal user group meetup in our office in the Grice building, which was absolutely abysmal. And one person showed up, that's Rich Everts, who's currently starting the Lancaster AI meetup. We quickly pivoted to a cooler location that was near a bar. Lancaster Science Factory was cool, it was new, and right across the street was Quips. So that helped. But these days, I would say don't go that way. The whole point of local area networks is that you don't have to go that way. What you can do is reach out to us and say, oh, is there anything we can actually tangibly learn from? For instance, all of the GitHub files for TechLancaster and its meetups are open to be shared. You can have them. Use it for Redding's meetup, because why not? It's an open source community and we can help. So you have to show up to places like this, like you are, cultivate this relationship, and keep on learning and asking. Relationships matter. Great question.
Can you talk more about unblurring those lines?
Yeah, unblurring the lines is something I was so reluctant to do. It was years of learning the hard way. I got so much done by mixing things that shouldn't be mixed. And people, my wife mostly, was like, yeah, stop doing that. And she was right, of course. And I'll give you a great example. I'm an open book. Today, at 4 o'clock, I had a meeting over at the Marriott with a guy who works for a local company, but he's pretty damn prestigious and very respectable. And my aim the entire time was to invite him to join the board of local area networks. I had a specific need and he had the specific skill set. There's no one else that I could think of that does that well. There's a lot of other things that we had to catch up on too. And so I invited him out under, I'll just call it false pretenses, so I could ambush him with a request. So I did it, and it went well, and maybe he will become a board member, we'll see. But one of the things I had to do before this talk was given was send him an email apologizing for the ambush. Now, old Joel would never have apologized for that. Old Joel just rolled that way. I still can't squash it all the time because frankly, if I would have put it in an email into like an opt-in format, he wouldn't have come, right? Like that was a toss-up. But then I did it anyway, and it did make me feel shitty, so I had to apologize. And I had to do it sans anything else. I was also include a link to the information about the board and this and that. And like, what are you doing? Stop. Just shut it down. And so I did. Accountability to yourself. And the point is that if you demystify the mystery, it lets people approach on their own terms, and that's probably the key. That's why it's important, because it's opt-in is really important. Yeah.
I have two questions. One, as a local business owner, what keeps you up at night right now in the economy? And two, what drives you to do what you do?
Drives me to do what I do is
Hard, like being a business owner, that's like, I'm sure that's been like your life.
it is. My wife, she's always that voice of reason. She's like, why are you still doing this? You know, you could do the exact same thing. You could run a rock climbing gym, probably be really successful. Why are you putting up with these pedantic people that drive you mad, right? Like, because of the power that this group of people has. Like, maybe it's because the rest of the world actually overlooks it. When I think about tech, anyone here would brag if they got a job at Amazon, you know, not so much about Facebook anymore, but you know, they would have last year. Like, these companies, they're incredible. It's hard to get into. It's like a whole challenge, and anyone would brag about it. But look, I mean,